On this episode of the Palm Beach Current, I'm joined by Zach Breakey of Androgenix in Palm Beach Gardens. Zach will talk to us about peptides, hormones, weight loss, and everything else needed to live a healthier lifestyle here in Palm Beach County. So it's a pleasure to be joined today for this episode with Zach Breakey. Zach, you have a story that I am excited to hear today. You come to us from Androgenix in Palm Beach Gardens. First off, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Happy to jump on with you, man.
Perfect. So tell me a little bit about your background. I know we've had a chance to chat a little bit already privately, but what's a little bit about your background and how did you become involved with Androgenix?
So I started Androgenics almost 11 years ago. I was 25 years old. I had basically no money to start it with. Just kind of a thought that if this was done well, it was a really great thing. We specialize in hormone replacement therapy. That's where my passion is. That's our main core, as far as what we focused on. So, um, yeah, I started 11 years ago. I worked in the industry for about a year before that. Really just fell in love with it. And look, before that, look, I was a kid that kind of barely graduated high school. Got out of it, went to community college for a very short period of time. Thought that I needed to have school, in order to be able to do anything with my life. Got into some sales jobs and found some success in that. Then I got an opportunity to fly out to Arizona to learn hormones. Dude, I was 24 years old. Somebody gave me the opportunity. I didn't ask any questions. I didn't ask how much it paid. I didn't ask anything other than, cool, when's my flight? Um, I gave me the opportunity. I quit my job the next day, put in my 2 weeks, and I flew out like 5 or 6 days later. Um, and man, it's been an absolute wild journey ever since then.
So what was the draw towards hormones, right? I mean, obviously
Yeah.
you have some kind of thought to just make a leap of faith and go there. I mean, what was the trigger?
I mean, look, at that point, I was in my early 20s. I had already started working out. I grew up playing sports. I started dabbling with testosterone myself. Um, it was just a great opportunity in the sense a good friend of mine had one of these companies. Um, and just simply, I had kind of already was at a ceiling at my last job. And I was looking around at everybody in their 40 and 50 complaining about that job and what it is. And I was like, I don't want to be you guys in 20 years. Right. So I'm kind of ready to exit this. And then really specifically with hormones, I mean, I remember the exact day that I really started to believe in it. I went to a conference, a medical conference. I flew back from Arizona to Florida. I spent the weekend there. And look, I'm kind of a simple person when you peel it all back. And this thought came through my head and I ran with it. And it's still a thought in my head today. And look, this was long before hormones was a big mainstream thing like it is right now, right? When I got into it, it was kind of this taboo industry, if you will. Um, I was training with this physician and he was world renowned and he's still training doctors to this day. And I walked out of that training class and I thought, if this is done well, this is a really great thing. And this is when hormones had a horrible reputation, right? So that thought wasn't a mainstream thought at that point.
Right. So, all right, look, I'll just lay it out there, right? I'm a 46-year-old guy. I'm in
Yeah.
decent shape. I lost a bunch of weight over the last year, kind of got myself put back together.
Yeah.
But I drive down North Lake. I come across your place. I walk in. I know nothing about what you do. Take me through the process. What are you going to do with me?
Yeah. So first we're gonna find out, try to ask questions, right? It all starts with listening to our patients. So first understanding, is there a need there? Assuming there is since you walked in the door, right? Schedule you for labs. Most of my clients will opt to come right into my office and we'll draw their blood. It's a 10 or 15-minute appointment. My business is built around making it as convenient as possible for our clients. You'll come in, you'll get your blood drawn by one of my nurses. We'll put you on our in-body machine. That'll measure things like your body fat percentage, your basal metabolic rate, your skeletal muscle mass. So between that and your lab work, we start to pull together like kind of get some comprehensive testing done so we can start to diagnose. From there, you're going to sit down with one of my providers once we get the results in. And again, this is when we really start to personalize your plan to fit you specifically. So we use the blood work as a reference and as a range, but a big part of what separates us from a lot of our competition or your primary care or maybe even your endocrinologist is our intention is to treat the symptom. So if you come in and say your testosterone, we'll just use that as an example, is in the normal range, but you suffer from maybe several different symptoms of a testosterone deficiency. We'll look to increase your testosterone to the optimal range, right? The upper quartile of that range. And more times than not, we over the next 8 weeks, we start to watch those symptoms start to be alleviated entirely.
Okay. And how long am I a patient with you? I mean, what is the average per are they with you for life? Are they there for a stretch? I mean, what does that look like?
It kind of depends on what they're coming in for, right? So let's say somebody that's 45 and their testosterone's low, they're going to want to keep their testosterone in the optimal range, assuming that it's a good fit and that they're happy with therapy. So those guys typically stay on indefinitely. It doesn't mean that once you start test, you have to take it for the rest of your life. But most of the time, because people feel such a noticeable difference, they're going to want to continue to take whatever it is that's positively impacted their life in a huge way. But then you get clients that come in maybe for peptides and they'll come in for to reach a certain goal, or maybe it's a weight loss and so it's for a specific purpose. So to answer your question, some people are lifers, right? That if it's a true hormone deficiency, optimize that hormone. And then sometimes clients come in for just a specific goal. We help them reach that goal, and maybe they discontinue whatever it is for a short period of time, and maybe pick it back up. So um, we see both of those things happen.
Talk to me about peptides because I think me and sure a lot of the rest of the audience might not know what that means.
Yeah.
When you talk about peptides, what does that encompass?
So peptides are short branch chain amino acids. So they are going to signal to your body to perform a function that it either already does or used to do. So let me give you an example. Your body will create its own growth hormone when you sleep. Your pituitary will produce growth hormone. It's then secreted into your blood. Your liver metabolizes it into IGF-1. There's a lot of peptides that are designed to increase your growth hormone levels, right? So again, it's helping your pituitary to produce more growth hormone. And then there's some other peptides that help it basically release it into your bloodstream. So to kind of paint you a picture, right? Some of them will fill the bucket up with water, and then other peptides will tell the bucket to, dump over, right? So there's so many peptides out there now. We're not always super quick to run to every single peptide that comes out. Um, we've done this for a long time. I think that there's a lot of great peptides out there. Um, I also believe there's a lot of peptides out there that aren't that great.
Okay. And what types of things could happen, good and bad? Like if you have, I guess, peptides that are working, what is that going to provide for you? And if you have some of the bad peptides, what kind of effect could that have?
Yeah, and when I say the peptides that I don't like so much, it's more just feedback from clients that we don't see a great result from them. Um, let's talk about so some positive things, right? Healing soft muscle tissue, recovering from injuries much faster, recovering from workouts much faster. Um, there's if you're talking about weight loss peptides, it will obviously do just that, right? Help lose weight. Then, and if you get into peptides that will increase growth hormone, you're talking about building lean, dense muscle mass, cutting body fat, vascularity, skin elasticity, hair growth. There's so many different functions um, that peptides can affect. As far as side effects, right? In my experience, and we've prescribed thousands and thousands of people peptides. This is all data I've seen personally. Side effects are typically very minimal, right? So when I say that, things like site injection irritation, um, water retention, maybe a disruption in sleep, very rarely, but possibly irritability, little things like that are more side effects that I see. Um, like a very sometimes certain peptides will give you a really like a flush feeling a few minutes after injection. Um, so what I've seen is they're incredibly safe. The right ones are incredibly effective, and they're also safe for long-term use
Okay.
for the most part.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Thanks for taking us through that. In terms of, you know, I hear testosterone. I've heard that word used a few times so far in the episode. I remember a few years back, I my score was a little bit lower than my doctor wanted it to be.
Yeah,
So he prescribed me, it was almost like a roll-on stick, right? That like went
yeah,
around shoulders. And I started to have an effect where I started like breaking out really badly from it. So I
yeah,
stopped. Now my score went up, right? Significantly. But the side effect was I looked like I was 14 years old in a growth spurt, right? Like it was
yeah,
just a bit of a mess. So I stopped. Do you
yeah.
see that type of those types of side effects with what you guys do?
Yeah, you can for sure. So at Androgenics, we don't do everything.
Right.
I wanted us to be a master of our craft and not a jack of all trades, right? So so I would consider, right? So that's a side effect very similar to that of going through puberty, which is a
Right.
lot of the side effects you get with hormones, right? But they can also be managed, those side effects, through dosing, how it's administered, frequency. There's so many little nuances where if you're going to say your primary care physician and they're giving you an alcohol based, testosterone that you roll on like a gel, I typically see a poor absorption and a lot of things I don't love about that type of delivery method. But the point is, we're hyper focused on this specific area. So, and we'll work with different compounding pharmacies. So I can compound virtually any hormone or any drug that I want in a specific way. So it can be the right delivery method. When you get into testosterone, sometimes let's just use injectable testosterone for an example. Sometimes people have a reaction to the oil. Sometimes people break out more with a sesame seed as opposed to a grape seed and vice versa. So it's being able to be able to be so focused on one area that you can give it the attention that it needs, and that's how people get great results. So, like in your case, that would have been something that my staff would have closely followed up with you. We would have made an adjustment, right, to
Yeah.
help acne. But look, if you're going to have all of these positive benefits and we clear up the skin, it's an easy, it's an easier conversation to have. It's like, man, my energy's better, my sleep is better, my libido's better, my strength is better. My mental drive and the cognitive function throughout the day is great. I have this little issue with some back knee. Okay, great. We can manage that through some dosing, delivery method. There's several different ways you can go about solving that issue.
Okay. Oh, good to know. I mean, that's really the only place that I've had experience with this, but
Yeah,
I would be apt to be interested and come in and, get a consultation and look at those types of things. I mean, I think especially as you get older, you want to learn how to optimize things. You learn a lot of bad habits early on in your life and you don't correct them. And a
yeah,
lot of these things, you get set in your ways, right? You look at, oh, this is my default function. I know
yeah,
this will work, but maybe it's not optimized. So that's what I
yeah,
find very interesting about you and your team is it seems that you guys can take somebody who comes through the door and you can optimize who they are and how they're put together. We're all different, right? So
yeah.
like you said, I appreciate you saying you try to master a few things. One thing I did want to ask you though, I hear testosterone, which I think guys most of the time. Tell me about some of the services that you utilize for women that come in.
All the same. Dude, I can't tell you how many women we have on testosterone therapy.
Really?
Yeah, and look, it's not a male dose, right? So Women, to answer your question, it's everything that men get and then some, because we'll work with hormones like estradiol, progesterone, testosterone, thyroid, DHEA, and then a laundry list of peptides and things like that to help them achieve certain goals. But I can't mean we have hundreds of women on testosterone, and the results that they get from it is very similar to that of a male in the sense of quality of life, sleep, mood, libido, strength, decrease in body fat, increase in lean, dense muscle mass. Um, Helps prevent, things like osteoporosis, decreases inflammation. So it doesn't matter male or female, we both need the proper amount of hormones. So here's a perfect example. Estrogen for a male is absolutely necessary to have the right amount. It protects us from cardiovascular disease, helps with cognitive function, can help protect our prostate. So a man needs the proper amount of estrogen as well as the proper amount of testosterone. Same exact thing goes for females, right? Different levels, but still the necessity is there.
How about for mental health too? What types of effects do a lot of the things that you guys do? What do they do for mental health?
I think it has a positive impact on mental health where I mean, there's especially you're talking about thyroid and testosterone. You hear a lot of things from clients that helps with depression, can help with anxiety, improves their mood, decreases irritability. But look, on the flip side, testosterone is incredibly powerful. I'm just using this as one example, but thyroid's something that that other physicians have started to use to help treat depression, especially in middle-aged women that are hypo when it comes to their thyroid. Um, but testosterone, just like any other hormone, is incredibly powerful. So there's use and abuse. The use of testosterone under a physician prescribed and physician monitored, and if that physician knows what they're doing, you're going to get so many benefits. I think it can have a massive impact on mental health. But when you start to get into abusing it, a lot of those positives now start to become negatives. Um, so testosterone, big fan of it, obviously, but too much of it, right? I think of it in a simple way. Testosterone is a very good thing, but too much of a good thing is not a good thing anymore.
Understood. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think it helps people understand exactly, what it is, the type of work that you guys are doing, and everybody's going to be fit a little bit differently. Just a
Yeah.
couple more questions, and then I wanted to shift gears a little bit.
Yeah.
I know the weight loss, I guess I'll call it a revolution, right? With all
Yeah.
the different types of drugs that are out there. You mentioned compounding and you mentioned weight loss. Is that something that you guys will provide as well?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Our goal with especially weight loss is to try to get to the core issue of the problem. So a lot of the times we recommend, say someone just wants to come in for like a weight loss drug, which GLPs are absolutely super popular right now, right? They're very popular, very effective. But a lot of our goal is we don't want people to have to constantly take something like a GLP for the rest of their life. Our intention is get their hormones balanced, use something to help them get the weight off. Happy to help them do that. But if we get their hormones balanced and help them get into a healthier uh, workout routine and eating healthier and seeing results in the gym, now you start to build good, um, good, what's the word I'm looking for? Good habits to help it so you're not doing this with your weight loss, going up, going down, right? So we want to find something that helps them sustain that 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 weight loss journey. I guess if you
Right.
were to put it.
With everything that you guys have available to you in your toolbox, what is
Yeah,
the one piece of advice that you would give people listening to check out things that you've learned over the years? I mean, you have quite a story that goes back to
yeah,
that first trip you took out to Arizona. If you were to
yeah.
sit down and have a consultation with anybody listening to this, what would be that one piece of advice that you would give them about their health?
I think the best place to start with it is to get blood work done. Seeing first what your blood work looks like, and then having somebody that understands how to interpret those labs is crucial. Um, it that's probably one of my biggest points of advice. And then something too, it's the food is so important. Food is, you know, look, the hormone side of it, we can always help people with. The exercise routine is not always the hardest part for people, but getting their food under control and how to eat properly and understanding, caloric intake and balancing their macros, I think is absolutely vital to being able to achieve long-term success when you're talking about physical and mental health.
Perfect. Well, great
Yeah.
advice. I appreciate that. I want to switch gears a little bit, and I'm actually excited to do this with you because you're a Palm Beach County guy through and through and have been here your whole life despite flying
I'm as
weight.
Florida as it gets, man.
That's right, right? It's good to meet guys like you because so many New Yorkers and New Englanders and other people have invaded your space, right? So I guess I'm guilty of that as well. But I like to ask some good local questions, and
Yeah.
I have high expectations for you here, Zach. I
Oh
don't,
man. All right.
I get a lot of
Let's see what we can do.
cupcakes, right? So I want you to really dig deep here to come up with some stuff.
Yeah.
Talk about food, so it's the perfect segue. What's your go-to restaurant in the area?
Dude, River House has probably the best mahi tacos you'll have in the entire world.
All right. That's
Yeah.
a big claim.
I eat fish tacos. I eat them all over the place. We go to the Keys. I spend a lot of time down there. I spend a lot of time in South American countries all over. I fish a lot. Some of the best mahi tacos I've ever eaten are right at River House, and they got some good fries too.
Okay. Fries are good. You said balance your macros and watch what you eat. The fries at River House are Zach approved.
Dude, they're bomb, man. I would get them.
All right. And then, your favorite small business or service provider that you absolutely love, somebody you want to give a shout out to.
Um, man, right now, probably costs. Just because that's who's on the top of my mind, and I do so much work with them. They do all my print, all my signage. We do some kind of like some collaboration projects together. They've wrapped vehicles and boats, and they've designed this sign that's behind my head. So, um, I like those guys. They take good care of me. I like going into a business where I know people there. They know who I am. I get to form a good relation. I'm a people person, so I like you know, having that feel of going into a place and knowing people that work there and honestly just being treated well. And God forbid something goes wrong, right? When you do a bunch of projects with a company, something somewhere is going to go wrong. I appreciate people being accountable. Um, so that kind of dictates who I like to do business with or not. It's not always like how great of a product can they produce because a lot of people can do that. It's how do you respond when something doesn't go well is what I look for.
It's so true. I think that's the true definition of customer service.
Yeah.
Things
I
go
I
right,
tell
everybody.
people it's like when something goes wrong at my office, now I'm gonna show you why you do business with me. So for me, there's nothing I wouldn't do to try to satisfy a need for one of my clients. It doesn't matter if it was our fault, the pharmacy's fault, FedEx or UPS. The way I look at it, it's like you're my client and it's my job to do everything in my power to make you happy.
I mean, honestly, Zach, that goes a long way. I think if they listen to any part of this episode, that would make me want to go in and check out your place. Tell people how they can get in touch with you, how they can learn more about androgenics and get a consultation.
Yeah, for sure. You can go to androgenicsolutions.com. We're on every social media platform. You can just type in androgenics and we should pop up right away. Um, you can reach us at 561 500 test. I bought that number. I like that number. So I wanted to plug that number in here. Um, or you can just come by our office, man. We're on North Lake Boulevard, right near US 1. We've been in the same location going on in a couple months. It'll be 10 years we've been here.
Yeah, no, you've got a great location. North Lake is in the middle of everything at this point. Certainly,
It is, man. I can pull people from West Palm and Jupiter to Cuesta, Loxahatchee, Wellington. It's North Lake's not offensive for anybody in Palm Beach County to drive to.
right. Yeah, it's kind of the line of demarcation at this point. You know
That's a good way to
exactly where
put
you're at with North Lake,
it.
so it's right there. It's a show on that street every day. You've got a little bit of NASCAR. It depends which side you're on, man. You go to the beach, you're out and you go further west, and it's a whole different thing. But yeah,
Yeah.
but it's an event. So hey, it's been a pleasure having you on board. I
Yeah, likewise,
love the
man.
idea of people going to see you. Check Zach out and his team. I think you can certainly stand to do no wrong going in there and figuring out what works best for you. Thanks so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Cool. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it, brother.
Thanks.